I picked up a bunch of raw EC sci-fi books that I've been putting up for sale in my store on Shortboxed. Books like this one here, Weird Fantasy and Weird Science, from the pre-code era of EC comics, when these books were at their absolute peak in terms of quality and popularity. I'm putting these books in the store now, but as I was getting them ready to post, I found this one issue in particular, Weird Fantasy 17, that I wanted to spend some time talking about. I'll tell you right now, this one is low grade. At best, maybe a 3.5. There's a little bit of spine split, some handwriting on the cover in pen. I actually already had a copy of this one that I bought not long ago because I'm a big fan of the cover. I bought a graded copy of Weird Fantasy 17 in 6.5. Again, I just got it because I've always liked the cover. It's got the dinosaurs and the rocket ships. But it wasn't until getting this raw copy that I actually had an opportunity to open it up and flip through it. So I want to do that with you because they're really good. Well, some of them. Before I get into this issue, there's a really cool part at the very end. I'm going to go through these stories. If you're not interested, do skip to the end because there's this one little detail. The first story, the A story in this issue, is kind of a cliche. It uses the Earth all along trope that was really common in the Twilight Zone and EC sci-fi. Oh, we didn't realize this was Earth all along. It was made most popular in the ending to the Planet of the Apes movie, where Charlton Heston sees the Statue of Liberty and realizes he's been on Earth all along. This is another one of those stories where they go to some distant planet a million years into the past and find early primates and they bring them back to Earth and yada, yada, yada. It was Earth all along. The second story is kind of a hybrid between the EC sci-fi and crime. It's about this mad scientist who's been going around decapitating people, stealing their heads and using them as batteries in his AI computing machine that he's been building. And the protagonist of the story goes snooping in the mad scientist's house and he finds the computer with 20 living heads all wired together, and then off goes his head. Spoiler, and he's now part of this computer. Okay, the third story I liked a lot. It's drawn by Al Williamson, scripted by Al Feldstein. I always thought Al Feldstein just drew the covers for these books, but it turns out that in addition to being a cover artist, he actually wrote and plotted most of these stories that weren't adaptations. He was the editor and then also the cover artist, which is a pretty amazing combination of skills. In this story, called The Aliens, it's drenched in irony because we have these reptile tentacle aliens. At the start of the story, they have just reached Earth in the moment of its destruction. So they arrive in our solar system, they see the Earth on their computer screen, on their ship, and they're like, ah, dang it. It just blew up. We were just about to go to Earth and help these people and teach them how not to destroy themselves, but we were a little bit too late. So instead, they go to the ruins of Earth floating in space, and they land their ship. They get out of their ship, they're looking around at the ruins of humanity, and they stumble upon a comic book lying in the rubble, and it just so happens to be Weird Fantasy 17. So they pick up the issue, and they start reading it. They are able to quickly learn how to read human writing. They describe the first two stories in the issue, then they get to the third story, and the aliens are like, oh, wait a minute, this is showing us doing what we just did, arriving on the remnants of Earth. They continue to the part where they, the aliens, find Weird Fantasy 17 and start reading it, and then they are reading the story where they are reading the story about the story that they are in, and they get farther along in the story until they get to where they are right then. And the alien says, and the story is about us too, how we were coming to Earth to warn the people. Don't go on, can't you see what this is? It's a story in a story in a story and so on. But how does it end? How does what end? The story, the original story. And they say, oh, let's see, on page 5 you ask me how the story ends, and I can't answer you because I have to turn the page. So turn the page. Have you ever read There's a Monster at the End of this book? This story feels a whole lot like that one. Squatrant, Spafon. That seems to be alien for and there they are, looking at themselves, looking at themselves, looking at themselves, looking at themselves. Good fun. So that's the C story, but it's the D story, the last one in the book, that really got me. So You see here on the cover, in this issue, EC's adaptation of a story by Ray Bradbury, America's top science fiction writer. They had a monthly deadline. They had to get a lot of these things out. They had to get them not just written, but also drawn and inked and printed every month. So they were always under a lot of pressure, and they were looking for good material. So what did they do? They drew from other science fiction short stories that they had found. And who was the best science fiction writer of the day? Well, arguably Ray Bradbury. He was certainly up at the top. Ray Bradbury became aware early in the run of EC Comics that they were taking his stories and adapting them in their comic series without giving him credit or payment. So that's pretty common stuff. That happened a lot. How it played out is unique because what Ray Bradbury did was not send them a cease and desist letter. He didn't say, I'm going to sue you for all you've got. Instead, he wrote them a letter that went to William Gaines, the publisher of EC Comics, and it was an invoice. He just sent them a bill. And this is the really cool part, because what did William H. Gaines do when he received this letter? An invoice for the stories that they had taken from him. He paid the bill. He wrote a check, sent it to Ray Bradbury, said, sorry, you're right, here's the payment you requested. He made it good. And they were in business. They reached an agreement where they would give him direct credit on the cover. And this is one of the issues where they used one of his stories. And that particular story is called There Will Come Soft Rains. It is in the distant, distant future. We see right here in the first panel the silhouette of a family on the side of their house, telling you right away that they've been destroyed by nuclear war. I know since childhood this thing about when a nuclear bomb detonates, it leaves the silhouette of the people killed on the walls of the houses and buildings. And I got to wondering after looking at this image, is that real? Was that really a thing, or was that just a popular belief? It is, in fact, real. It was exaggerated, but there was some essential truth to it. When the first nuclear bomb was dropped on Japan in Hiroshima, it did leave the outline of some of the people who were killed on the concrete and walls around the city. And what that is thermal radiation differential, which is a boring term that basically means the radiation that blasted was blocked by the people standing there, and it didn't hit the wall behind them. So the story describes this modern house, fully automated with all sorts of gadgets, vacuuming gadgets, dishwashing. The lights turn on and off. There's some sort of AI telling the residents of the house about all their appointments and anniversaries and obligations. And it's just this fully automated house going about its business after the humans have been killed off. A cigar is lit for the owner who's not there, and it eventually sets the house on fire. The automated sprinklers go off and the firefighting machines try to stop the fire, but the house is ultimately destroyed, and we're left with the very last panel of the comic. Dawn showed faintly in the east. Among the ruins, one wall stood alone. Within the wall, a last voice said, over and over, again and again, today is August 5th, 2026. Today is August 5th, 2026. That's all for now. Thanks for watching.